Welcome to Legion Radio, a podcast about all things e-commerce, the official podcast of the private label Legion, hosted by Tim Jordan.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Legion Radio, the official podcast of the private label Legion community, where we bring to you all sorts of awesome e-com information, e-com opinions, a little bit of BS mixed in, and occasionally a cool person to talk to. Today we are bringing Izabela Hamilton, aka Bella? Bell? What's your aka?
Bella.
Bella, the Romanian, I don't know. We'll come up with a really cool name for you that's going to stick. Yes. And if you're watching this and you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to this podcast. If you're on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Check us out on the Facebook land. We've got a group, Private Label Legion. Check that out. Like our page, Private Label Legion. We put all of our new content and all the good stuff you guys want to see on those locations. So make sure to subscribe and follow so that you can get notifications. So today we are talking about ranking. Ranking has been a really, really hot topic in the land of Amazon because so many things have changed lately. Not just what works and what doesn't work, but the terms of services that either changed or now being enforced. And, you know, the good old days of being able to just put any crappy old thing on Amazon and do a little manipulation and get it to sell and stick. Those days are over. And as I get to travel around and meet all sorts of awesome people and learn all this cool stuff, I occasionally find an expert. Unfortunately, we don't have one of those awesome experts on today's show. We had to no, I'm just kidding.
Well, thank you. I almost said thank you, and then I was like, what is this guy talking about?
No, we've actually never brought on anybody that quote unquote specializes in ranking because, you know, I don't like to advocate the black hat stuff too much, and I don't like to push stuff that doesn't seem to be working or things that don't work for a long period of time. You know, we don't want those just flash in the pan little hacks. We want the stuff that actually works pretty well. So I met Belle / Izabela / the Romanian, whatever we want to call her. Where was it? It was a conference this year, right?
It was at Prosper in Vegas.
Prosper in Vegas in 2019. I remember I met you the first time at like a party, right? A networking party at a club?
Yes. It was an event.
And I will always remember that event as being fairly special to me because in this community, everybody is super competitive. All the different services, all the different software providers. And I hear a lot of people that do not follow the abundance mentality. And I remember at that party, we had a combination of the Helium 10 guys, the Seller Lab guys, and the Merchant Word guys. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Like staff and owners from all of those companies, which was amazing because those are three of like the biggest competitors in the whole like keyword search field. And we were all hanging out together and everybody's just being friends. And I was like, this is why I love these companies is because
and you
there's
put
no
that together.
animosity.
You got all these people together. That was all you. That was all you.
It was not on me. It was just the venue. But thank you. But I remember thinking that was super awesome. That's where I met Belle. And since then we've hung out together. We've gone to some other events together. We've had some interesting conversations and some interesting experiences in this e-com world with all of our mutual friends. And she's just a delight to be around, and she likes pumping people up and encouraging people. So, Belle, I need more of you in my life.
Thank you so much. It's what I do. You know, if good things happen to you in your life, you have to share that. You have to share the goodness with everybody else.
That's true.
My philosophy. That's why I'm so happy and so chill.
So before we get into actually talking about ranking, it's important to understand where you come from, right? Because if I'm telling everybody, hey, you're an expert in ranking, we have to be able to quantify that and we have to be able to justify that. But I know that before you got into ranking, you were quite the world traveler, right? Even before you got into e-commerce. Can you briefly explain like why you were traveling so much, where you were traveling to, and how you started getting some of these different experiences in life?
Sure, would love to. So I don't want to go all the way back to when I first came to US. I'll just keep that very short. But when I moved here, I came to the East Coast actually for the first time, and I was there very briefly for a month or two. Then moved to San Diego, California, which is where I am right now. It's what I call home. My second home from home. And but from here, my husband's a Marine, so we get to move a lot. The military, it's kind of our boss, so they tell us where to go. So we lived in San Diego for a few years. Then we moved on to South Carolina. from South Carolina, we moved all the way to Africa, to Rwanda. We were there close to 2 years, and then moved to Burma. And same thing, from Burma to New York back to San Diego. So, but of course, this is just our family moves. Myself, I've traveled in a lot of different places, not only for work, but for vacation and pleasure. So it's one of the things to do. When you travel, your brain literally rewires. So I love that about traveling.
Gotcha. And as I understand the story, and you can clarify it, you actually got into e-commerce while you were in Rwanda, Africa, right?
Right.
So explain kind of how that happened.
Of course. That's when I was really just learning about it. I didn't actually monetize it in any way. We were getting packages from Amazon all the time, and I thought it was very cool.
Wait. You were getting packages from Amazon in Africa?
Yes. So the way it works, if you're a diplomat and you work for an embassy, which I was at the time, and so was my husband, you get this privilege of having a U.S. address where you can order things off of Amazon and it gets sent to that address. So from there, somebody from, the agency, the company, they pick up your stuff, they put them on a plane, and they send them to you in that country. And actually, one of my jobs at the embassy was going with the security team from the embassy to the actual airport to pick up our packages. So it didn't go through customs. They would literally send it to us. I was there with the security team. We would see it coming down the plane, the actual huge crates of stuff. And we would sign off. We would put it in our car, and we would drive it to the embassy, which was actually quite cool because I didn't know how all of these things work. Especially for diplomats, like we're so privileged in every country we go to. We even have this. I mean, we could have ordered anything and have it shipped to us. And I'm sure the military, they bring whatever stuff they want in those planes as well. But how cool was that you could do that? So it was definitely taking longer than it would as if me and you are ordering.
Yeah, this was not 2-day shipping.
It was. They would send it 2 days to the actual location in US, but it will take, anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 to 6 weeks sometimes. If you were to order, as right now, as we're getting close to the holidays, I remember for holiday shopping, you would have to order your stuff at least a month and a half before, because, shipping to all of these countries, to all of these embassies, these packages was a lot of logistics involved. So, but I just thought it was really, really cool and really interesting. And what an amazing company that can do this for some. Imagine when you're in a third world country and you want that one. It can be anything from US that you miss and having it shipped to you. So I've tried before, like ordering stuff from like Nordstrom or whatever, and they would never ship it. But Amazon was the only one that did. And I was like, let me look into this. Let me see how I can be part of this great growing company. So that's when I started playing a little bit around, just reading, researching, how does this thing work, how a listing is made. And it just happened that one of my acquaintances needed help setting up an Amazon store. And I said, I've been interested in doing this. Let me help you out. So I did. And of course it was more than 5 years ago when I lived there. And it was so much easier then. You would just put your listing up, you would put a picture, you would throw your products in there. It was selling like, hotcakes. So, of course, that's not what happens now, but it was just a good experience for me to have, just to see. So we would do a lot of quality control for the seller. We would send the products to. So
you were working like as an agency for multiple sellers?
I was actually just helping this one seller out, and we did such a good job, and it was probably a lot of luck and a lot of just reading other people's listings and. Yep. Of getting involved into that. And, just by doing that, he was very happy. And he said, if you continue doing this for me, I can help, I can pay you. And I said, of course, I'll give it a try. And then he recommended me to another seller to another seller. So it just started growing, slowly in the beginning, just by helping them with that. And that's where we are today.
So So you kind of start out a little bit like I did, just helping one person, then another person, then another person. And you got to see so many different things, so many different listings, so many different products, so many different categories, so many things that did work, that didn't work, that you got kind of a bird's eye perspective on, able to use that experience in whole to start pinpointing some of these pain points, right? And how to fix those. Of all of the kind of information, experience, wisdom you're gaining, why did you start honing in on the concept and the skill of ranking? Was it kind of by accident? You happen to be really good at it, or did you actually decide, hey, I want to figure out, learn, and help other people rank?
So when I first started, I was helping the seller, and we were doing a lot of quality control for him. We would send products to buyers. They would test them, let us know what can be adjusted, what can be fixed, or if it was perfect, we would, continue creating the same products over and over. I swear to you, every single month I wanted to sell products. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Let me just learn a little more. So what I've learned is that ranking is really the mother of like Amazon. Like without ranking, you really cannot move much. You can have an amazing product. You can have the best product out there. But if you are not ranking anywhere on page one, you're going to have very little sales compared to somebody that's occupying the first, 3 to 5 positions on page one. So when we were doing quality control, we were noticing that all these orders, when we would have the buyers order this product, the product would rank on page one. Of course, it was much easier then, but we've noticed that whenever a product ranked from, let's say it was on page 3 and we got to move to page 1, automatically the sales increased, 2, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times more sometimes. So I decided to zone in more on a ranking than quality control. Of course, we still have that as just the side benefit of this beautiful process, and we still let the sellers know if there's anything wrong with the product. But we noticed that doing the ranking really saves a seller's product in most cases, and not only saves them, but actually is what creates the sales in the first place.
Sure.
Of course, you have to have an amazing listing, but having ranked on page 1 compared to your competitors that are on page 2 or 3 is really the brag of this.
All right. So now that you are a quote unquote ranking expert, I want to hit you with kind of 3 of the biggest topics that I see people asking that I wonder about. And maybe you can address those. And the big things, and I'll just read them off real quick what I had jotted down, and then we'll tackle them one, is what seems to be working with ranking now. I know things have changed a whole lot. Let's talk about the biggest mistakes that you see other people making in ranking. I know that you're in a lot of communities. You see a lot of stuff that people are doing. They're probably boneheaded. I'd like to see some of those biggest mistakes. And let's talk about the future of ranking. And of course, that's going to be 100% speculative because we don't really know that. But let's just kind of go back and forth on that topic, maybe share some ideas. So you own this company, RankBell, rankbell.com, and people come to you to have their products ranked. Okay. And I know that for you to do that well, you must be on the cutting edge. You must know what works, what things help your product stick with those rankings, those ranking increases. So what right now is the method, is the style of ranking that seems to be working the best?
The best thing you can possibly do when you do a ranking campaign is to do what it's called search, find, buy method. Is when somebody searches for your product, finds it, and buys it. It's very obvious, the name of it. And we've noticed that when people do that, it shows Amazon that people are actually interested in this product enough that they are searching for it themselves.
Yeah, and this is as opposed to just a link that goes straight to their listing.
Correct.
You're talking about, when you say search, find, buy, you're literally saying somebody goes into the search bar, searches whatever keyword you assign to them or the client assigns to them. So basically have someone that searches a specific keyword, scrolls through the pages until they find the exact product, click on it, buy it, right?
That is
search,
correct.
find, buy. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So the super URL works is pretty good, but I will only use that in the beginning when your product is not indexed or searchable. So you could use that for a day or two. And I said this in the past, I wouldn't even use a follow-up email for a review when you use a super URL. And again, that's just my speculation. I'm not sure if that's actually accurate or not. It's something that I would not do. Don't do a follow-up email because you don't want anything that's traceable, and a super URL is connected to somebody leaving you a review, whether that review is organic or not. So yeah, just once you use the super URL for a day or two, your product is searchable, even if it's on page, let's say 8 or 10, you would tell us approximate what page it can be found. And we have our buyers, our testers scroll through the pages, which is also something that they are trained on doing, and they do a good job at, is searching through all the pages, looking at competitors' products, evaluating. Sometimes they give us tips. This seller had this, your seller had this. Maybe it would be a good idea to have this instead of this. So they're very good at pointing out different things. But yes, so then they find your product, they add it to the cart, and they order it. That's basically the sequence of the search, find, buy.
So you have a group specifically set up for this?
Yeah, I have a large community. Yes, they're just a tester community.
So you've been building this community out for a long time that are trained to buy these things. They're really disconnected and untraceable. So I guess this method is a little bit black hat, gray hat. But if you do it correctly, Amazon should never know, right?
I wouldn't call it black hat. It's just like any other rebate company, like Rebate Key and all the other ranking companies. They still use testers, but the only difference between my testers and somebody from just an unnamed website is that my buyers are actually trained, and they're not going to resell your product on Amazon. We have direct contact with these buyers, whether than somebody else using a rebate site. Nobody has contact with them. So what can happen is that person can create 100 accounts, buy your products, and relist them under that seller. So that's the only that's one of the biggest difference that we have from my buyers and somebody from like a rebate side. But I wouldn't call that a black hat, because rebates still exist. They have existed for a long time. Some of the most popular rebate sites still use this method. But and another difference that we do is we refund them fully, whether than other sites you might, only refund maybe 80% or 60% or whatever.
Gotcha. So if I'm one of the buyers in your group, you're going to assign me a certain keyword. I'll type in that keyword, scroll through, search, find it, buy it. Then you will refund me the cost of the product, and they get the product for free. Now, me as a seller, I will pay you basically per unit that you give away, plus pay you for the cost of the product so you can refer it. So that's basically your service fee, is making all these connections and make everything happen through your vetted, your validated, your trustworthy group, right?
Correct.
And business is good, right?
It's very good. Yes.
And I said it a little bit facetiously. I know you're doing extremely well because there are so many people that continue to use you. Your customer retention is super high because it works. And I think
we give our attention fully. I have an amazing team that really caters to every single seller. I am very involved in it. Any seller that comes, they usually speak to me directly. They have direct access to me. And we really care about our seller satisfaction, our client satisfaction, and we treat our buyers exactly the same. So we're the best connection between the seller and the buyer.
Gotcha. So as you're involved with all these other communities, and by the way, if any of you have a question about search, find, buy, post it in the comments to this video, and I'll get with Bella here and make sure she gets that answered. If you have any questions and you're watching this, once we release it, just post those questions or comments in the comment section. We'll get you taken care of. So I know you're involved in a lot of communities. I know you're very active in the Amazon space, the e-commerce seller space, and you probably see a lot of boneheaded moves, right? Sometimes. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about ranking that people are doing wrong? And what do you see are some of the most dangerous methods maybe, and some of the biggest mistakes people are making when they're trying to rank?
I think one of the biggest mistakes...
And just so you know, this is your chance to get on your soapbox. Get up and preach, all right?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is somebody starting a campaign and stopping right away. So when sellers come to me, a lot of them, not everyone, but a lot of them, they think what worked for somebody else will work for them. So somebody would come to me with a set of knives. They expect the same results as their friend who had maybe a desk. First of all, the price is completely different. The knives are maybe $20. The desk was $100. You can rank a desk way faster than you would a set of knives. So that's one of the misconceptions that I see a lot, even from actually quite experienced sellers. And it's probably because they've only worked in their own niche, and they haven't thought outside the box yet. So that's one thing. You cannot expect even your products, even if you start having the same like kitchen items, they're never going to rank as your knives did. Even if you bring another set of knives, it will never rank the same as yours. And that's not something that's for me. It's just how the algorithm works. It takes in consideration how many other competitors have showed up in the market and what they're doing to rank their products. That has an effect on how you can rank your future product. So that's one thing that's very unpredictable with Amazon. Actually, everything is kind of unpredictable with Amazon. You can't really say this works. We notice that search, find, buy works. We know that. We don't know how many units it takes to rank you. So usually I send my clients, I send them to Helium 10, get their keywords, come to me, let me know how many giveaways are needed. And based on that, we create a plan. So if, Helium 10 says you need 50 units a day, you may only need maybe 20 or 30, but we're always split testing. So if somebody comes to me and says, I think I may need 100 giveaways, we don't hold him to it. We don't say, okay, you have to do 100 giveaways. We're like, okay, let's test it. Let's split them between days. Let's split them between keywords. Let's see which one ranks faster. So it's always a work in progress for every single seller and for every single product. I wish there was a cookie cutter way and say, here, follow this PDF file and you will be golden, because it doesn't work that way. So that's one misconception, thinking that everybody can rank the same and as quick. Another mistake that I see is a lot of sellers, they spend a lot of money on their listing, on their photos. They get a great product, which all of these are fantastic. But then they put their product on Amazon and then they lay back and they say, okay, I'm waiting for sales to come in. They forgot to account for ranking and for launching. This is such a crucial piece in your business. You should save more for this than you would for anything else. Of course, you should always have a great product, a great picture, a great copy, all of this, but make sure you save enough to cover for these expensive, and it's not cheap. Whether the service is from me or from somebody else, or whether you set up your own ManyChat, everything costs. You will always have to pay for your product. You will always have to pay for your fee. So just make sure to have that fund available. And the third, and probably the worst mistake you can possibly do, is run out of stock. Because it takes a lot of money to build your listing. It takes a lot of money to rank. And then for you to lose your stock and sell out and then have to start all over again, that's probably the worst thing they could possibly do. Because a lot of people don't think, oh, I'm gonna run out, I'm gonna sell out, because that's everybody's dream, right? But then it does happen. And unfortunately, I see it time and time and time again, where they will run out of products and all the work that we have done goes in vain. Because once you're offline, everybody else comes in and they take over. We can still revive your product. That's not an issue, but you'll have to do this whole sequence again, and maybe with a lot more units, maybe with a lot more PPC. So just don't run out of stock.
Got it. All right. And then Obviously, mistakes are a great thing to avoid, and thank you for sharing that. I think most of those are things that we know, but a lot of times we forget. We do boneheaded stuff like stopping these campaigns and all that good stuff. So
a lot of people, when you think you know everything, that's the hardest mistake, because we don't know everything.
I know.
And being open-minded and saying, okay, let me listen to somebody suggested this. Let me be open-minded. Don't think I know everything, because that's when you mess up.
And that's tough to do as entrepreneurs, because a lot of times we're confident, that's like part of our natural tendencies. So sometimes, yeah, you're right. We need to gain some humility and listen and not get sucked in this idea of what worked a year ago will work again. I see a lot of people teaching methods, in private label courses. They're like, of course this is accurate. This is how I got, so many sales. I'm like, yeah, that was 3 years ago, man. Just because it worked for you then doesn't mean it's going to work now. So it's not like malicious. It's just sometimes we forget, hey, things change, and we need to kind of rewrite the script on that.
If you have like groups like yours, and that you can ask such questions, we're all there for each other. I mean, yes, it's kind of a competitive field, and you don't know who's selling what, and they may be selling the same product, but our innate desire is to help others. So that's why you have your own group. That is why you have your podcast, right? That's why you have me on your podcast to share these things. I don't get paid for this. You don't get paid for this. We do it because we want others to be aware of these things. We love helping. Isn't this the goal of everything? So just, don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Oh my God, if I pose this question, everybody's going to judge me. Everybody thought I was a great seller, but now they won't think I'm a great seller because I asked this. No, I ask the stupidest questions. Okay. I am not the smartest person. I want to be surrounded by the smartest people, and that's okay.
So let me ask you this. You want to stay in business with your company. You want to continue to be one of the best ranking services out there. You must be thinking about the future. You must be thinking about if, TOS changes or algorithm changes. When you're sitting around contemplating what RankBell looks like a year or two from now, what speculations do you have about the future of ranking? What is it going to take in the future to rank? What is ranking going to look like?
I think I noticed that Amazon, we have this conception that Amazon works against us at times. It seems that way. But I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to think that they're actually doing to improve the quality of services that they're offering to the sellers that actually make Amazon money. So with that in mind, I want to think that in the future, Amazon will make it easier for somebody to list their product and for somebody to rank their products. Of course, they will always choose a safer method. You probably noticed the latest thing where they added the leave a review button. Did you notice that?
Yep.
Okay, so for me, what that means is, they want to avoid all the black hat techniques that are out there. They want to avoid, so they said, okay, why don't we add this and help buyers, remind them that they need to leave a review. So things like that. I mean, it's probably still testing, and who knows how long this is going to be there. But to me, it's showing that, they're not that horrible. They do want us to succeed. And I think as long as we work together, sellers and Amazon, to create this, environment, I think it will work out for everyone. As far as ranking, I think search, find, buy will always work. I don't think that's going away because, unless some crazy technology comes that, you just blink your eyes and a product will be automatically added to the cart, then yes. But until then, I still think the manual method of searching for a product, adding it, buying it, I think that will always work. I'm sure there's going to be many different things coming, and our RankBell policy is that any new thing coming along, we're very adaptable and we're willing to work with both sellers and buyers to create that perfect solution where sellers happy and buyers happy. So any changes that come with Amazon, we adapt quite easily. And RankBell just keeps growing and growing, and we have a beautiful team. And we're always looking to enlarge our team. So if somebody listening to this that's super amazing, familiar with Amazon, that's looking for some extra cash, just send me a message. We always want the best the best of the best to work at RankBell and help all the sellers out there, because we do have a lot of clients.
And how do you normally find your buyers? You've got this big list of buyers. How did you find this group?
It's all word of mouth. So we have a list of a few thousand people, and you cannot be part of this community unless you are fully vetted. We try to avoid everyone that's a seller, because we don't want, your product is our number one.
Yep.
It's like, it's on the wall, and it's like we look at it and we pray to it and we admire it. Okay, so your product is very important to us. We don't want your product to be seen by any other sellers. We want that confidentiality. We want you to have 100% trust in us. We want you to come and literally go to sleep and not worry about anything. Whereas other rebate keys, you see everybody's product, and that's fine also. That's fine. I'm not saying that that's terrible. It's just the way we do things. So we want your product to be safe. We want to give you basically the best experience. So when new buyers come in, somebody would have to recommend them. So for example, if you're one of my buyer and say, I have this guy who works with me in the office, and he would like to be part of this product testing community. I would have one of our assistants that's in charge of this contact them, fully vet them. Are they on any social media platforms? Are they part of review groups? Because if they are, that's not our buyer pool. That's, those things are out there, and we don't get involved with that. We want somebody that's not an obsessive compulsive shopper, that they buy everything and they review everything. We want somebody that's genuine. We want somebody that can give us good pointers on that product. We just don't want somebody to take advantage of the system, because you do get free products and everybody wants free products. So for us, it's very easy to choose. We don't have to just accept everybody. We're not desperate for that. We want to have the best buyers for your products.
Gotcha. Now, I know you pay a lot of attention to different things in social media, and they just made a really big social media announcement like yesterday. Wall Street Journal did, that TikTok is actually opening up some sort of e-commerce portal. Have you heard anything about that?
Only from you.
Oh, okay. That's good. So what do you think about the likelihood of utilizing these newer social media networks like TikTok and these micro influencers are popping up like crazy when it comes to ranking? Do you see a correlation between influencers and ranking at all?
I think, TikTok has definitely been growing a lot. I'm not on it. I know people that are on it, and like we discussed before the podcast, that we see a lot of influencer coming out of nowhere and having all these followers. So that it scares me in a way that so many of them can be influencers.
Yep.
I think because there are so many influencers, actually it may be cheaper to pay somebody there to, like, let's say, promote your product than it would be for somebody on Instagram, because Instagram just got so big and so famous. And now if you reach out to an influencer on Instagram, they want something ridiculous like 5,000 or 10,000. So in that perspective, I think it would be easier and faster and maybe cheaper, but I just don't know who the audience is right now. I feel like it's a lot of younger kids. And I don't know how, like giving, one of those influencers like desk, for them to promote, like, who's their audience? Other 14, 15-year-olds? I just don't know what the audience is. But I think that will be visible very soon, probably within the next few months, especially if they're trying to promote this like new market. But honestly, anything that you do that promotes your product will definitely help your ranking. So
Sure.
whether you have sponsored ads on Amazon, on Facebook, on Instagram, the more you have, the better, because what it really is just sales, right? This is what we're all trying to get. So whether these sales come from me or from Facebook or Instagram, the more you have, the higher you will go in rank. And it's just a circle. The higher you are in rank, the more people will buy your product. So you just got to
Awesome.
keep making sure your product is top notch and 100%.
Completely agree. So, ranking, I think that you've given us a good idea of what search find buy is. Obviously, that's the method that you condone. Giving us a lot of good things to think about. As we wrap up the official things that we decided we're going to talk about, just give us a little bit of wisdom when it comes to entrepreneurship in general. If someone looked to you and said, "Hey, what's it like being in business? Is it worth it? Is it not? What's fun about it?" Just get in your soapbox for a second, preach.
I love that you asked me that question. I don't get that question a lot. And it's actually my favorite subject because it comes down to mindset. As a woman in business and as a foreigner to this country, I came to this country with, $100 in my pocket. And, now I run a 7-figure business. I have employees that are, very happy. And it all comes down to mindset because we are, I don't want to say we're weak creatures. I don't want to sound that bad, but our mind needs constant work. So, just make sure you are ready to take on a path. And when I say make sure you're ready, get your mind ready. I'm going into this. I will be able to be successful. Everybody else can be successful. So can I, because we tend to beat ourselves up. So you start a business, it doesn't work. Your first product crashes. You just lost $10,000 and you're just like, this is not meant for me. I'm not an entrepreneur. You don't have to be born an entrepreneur. It's a skill you can learn. So once you get that in your head that you can learn this and you can be just as good as me or as Tim Jordan or as everybody else out there, you can do it. But don't give up at the first thing. Just look at the failures as a stepping stone to your success. Because every time you fail, you learn. I'm stressed a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. And I'm hoping to make a lot more mistakes in the future because there's no way to grow but by making these mistakes. Of course, look at other people that have failures and learn from them, but you cannot completely avoid every single issue out there. You will have to go through them. So I think as long as you set up your mindset right, and I don't want to make it like a rule, like, oh my God, now you have to be like Mr. or Mrs. Positive all the time, but just be aware of your thoughts, because we tend to beat ourselves up. I'm not good at this, like in our heads. And we think just because nobody hears us, it's not affecting us, but every single thought is very powerful and it will affect you. It will affect your mood. Your mood will affect everything that's going to happen in that day. You go to work, somebody cuts you off in traffic, you're mad at them. You go to work, your boss pisses you off. All of this, it starts with that one bad thought in the morning. So when that bad thing happens, just take a second, take a breather and say, everything is going to be okay. Because it usually is. 90% of our worries never, ever happened.
Yep, I agree. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we're about to the end of our time, so we'll go ahead and sign off. But I can honestly say that the last thing you talked about is the thing I like to hear about the most. It's the thing that we like to forget about. I tell people all the time that entrepreneurs are more critical of themselves than almost any other profession out there, unfairly. So those of you that are listening that are maybe struggling a little bit with something, understand that you're not the only one. If you feel like, you're beating your head against this wall and you can't get, this Amazon business or whatever you're doing launched, you're in good company. Everybody feels that way and everybody has those struggles, but keep on keeping on, keep pushing. I think it's worth it. And I think the opportunities definitely make it worth fighting for. So again, thank you, Belle, for coming on. I know I've wanted to have you on here for a long time and we've both been traveling so much and so busy that it's been hard to line that up. And I absolutely look forward to seeing you wherever I'm going to see you again. I'm sure it'll be somewhere close to the 1st of 2020. We get back on the conference circle and get to be graced with your delightful presence again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and the time you made for me.
All right. So for those of you that want to find out more about RankBell, it's RankBell, RankBell.com. And you can also find Miss Izabela on Facebook. What did you say your Facebook name was?
Belle Izabela Hamilton.
Belle Izabela Hamilton. Look her up on Facebook, shoot her a message. And on Instagram, you are?
Bella, Bella.iza.bela.
Okay. Bella.iza.bela. Bella. And those are also in the show notes. We'll have our production guy stick those in there for you. So if you're like me and you can't remember what we just said 8 seconds ago, check the show notes. Make sure those of you that are listening, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're on. We're dropping these podcasts pretty regularly now. And I may be biased, but I think it's pretty good information. If not, the folks that we're bringing you have really good information, so it's worth listening to. So thank you again, Bella. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for all of you that support what we do. Thank you all for being part of my life, especially. Those of you that listen, I consider really close friends and mentors and people I look up to. And if you weren't in my life, it would not be nearly as enjoyable. So oh man, I was like on such a roll, and then I messed it up. Let me try that again. You ready, Bella?
Yes.
Okay. You guys are so awesome. Pause. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
You've just wrapped up another episode of Legion Radio, hosted by Tim Jordan. Past episodes, links, and show notes can be found at privatelabellegion.com.